Peace and prosperity be unto all who's listening and watching. It's your girl, Lachey Miller Wright, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to talk about the importance of reading and why it's good for you. It's fundamental for one. It helps you work your brain, and anybody who knows the brain is a muscle, okay? The brain can be lazy, the brain can be lazy if you don't use it. It cannot work properly. You have to push yourself to solve different solutions. You have to push yourself to constantly grow. So reading helps you grow. Reading helps you expand. Reading helps you, your vocabulary. It helps you learn new things that you would have never learned if you hadn't picked up that book, right? Reading is a way of imaginating. Because you can read things and imaginate what things could be. Like if you have like a fiction book and it's not based on a true story, but because you've never seen the movie yet, you reading a specific book before actually seeing it, you create things in your mind. Some people don't want to watch a movie because how they visualized it in their minds based on how they read the book, and they may be turned off by the actual movie because the way you imagine things in your mind, the way you work your mind to believe and think things is totally different than how things may turn up and how somebody else may see that same vision or how somebody else may perceive that same book. So that's not to only say that all perspectives in the mind are different. Like, the way you think is not how somebody else thinks, and how you see this book is not how anybody else sees that book, right? So perspective is a big thing, and ideas and books and reading and ideals and imagination and belief. All these different things have a shield and a total different perspective of belief, and it paints a picture for everybody. And that's why some people would much rather just read. There's a lot of readers who prefer to never watch the movies. You ask somebody, oh, you seen all those series? Have you seen the movie? And I'm like, no, I've never seen the movie because I don't think that it's going to be as good as the book, and I don't want to be disappointed. That's exactly what people say when they say they've never actually seen the movie of something. I've read all the Harry Potter books. I've watched all the Harry Potter movies. I've seen all the Hobbits, Lord of the Rings. I've seen all that stuff. And I read books. Same with those cartoon shows we grew up on. I've seen all the older versions of Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast and all those, cartoon childhood movies, Lion King and whatnot. And I also read the books. Now, what is portrayed sometimes isn't what is shown, Sometimes they may show a cute version of it. Sometimes they may show a not so cute version of it. And sometimes they may give you the full version of the movie. Sometimes it's sugar-coated. Sometimes it isn't, And that's why people really don't care for the movie. But I personally believe the power in reading is phenomenal, right? Because your imagination, your ability to work this muscle up here is, tremendous, okay? Also, it helps you understand other people's mindsets when you're able to watch what somebody else came up with in a movie. So your perspective of this book was this. Remember how you perceived it based on how you read it. So that when you go to this, theater or watch the movie, you could get to see somebody else's perspective of the movie, or the book, or the producer perspective of how he interpreted or she interpreted this to be when they wrote it. You get to see it from a manifested point of view, so you get to see it in a movie form instead of them just writing their passion out on paper. The power in writing means that it becomes a manifested thing over time, and it becomes movies, it becomes audios, it becomes greater, right? It doesn't just remain a book. It becomes something more, and that's the most powerful thing. You want to expand your vocabulary. You want to expand your word selections. You don't want to be limited to words, and you don't want to be limited to anything, really. You don't want to be limited to what you know, what you can read, what you can do, what perspectives you can see from, and what you can believe. You want to read endless books. And I know I just use like fiction books, but I'm not just talking about fiction books. I'm not just talking about, Harry Potter and, Beauty and the Beast and all those good books. I'm talking stuff like personal development books and Rich Dad, Poor Dad and things like that. I'm going to do a video on my top books. But I'm gonna do that on another day. But right now we're gonna talk about the importance of reading. And reading has always impacted my life, even as a child. And it's probably one of the things that I struggle with most growing up. And I know there's a lot of people who can't read, right? Have a struggle with reading or pronouncing certain words. Because when I was little, they used to say, sound it out. And I was just like, I used to have an attitude. I'm like, we don't try this 100 times, And I used to have a speech problem, so I took speech for a while. And I went through a lot of coaching, when I think about it, I went through a lot of coaching growing up because I struggled with a lot of things. And the way I was taught was different. And the way I seen how other people were taught was different. Because my learning abilities were different than other people. Not to say that I wasn't smart. It was just to say that I struggled with certain subjects, certain aspects of, growing. So I was always good at English, always good at history. I love those. Those are like my two favorite subjects in the entire world. Like history and English. And if I was ever to take on, anything else, it's probably why I'm a writer, because I love English, and I love poetry, and I love to, speak to people in ways that paint a picture, like a movie can, that's why I'm an artist, because I know paintings can paint words into people's souls, into people's heart. They can express things in which some people are afraid to say, and speak things in which some people have yet learned to, learn to say within themselves or learn to express to their loved ones. And, I am a healer, a giver, and a teacher. And I believe that educating people on the expansion of learning, as well as the importance of reading and the importance of information, because reading and information and knowing what to read is just as important as reading, okay? Now, it's cool to be selective on things that you read. You want to have a good imagination, but you want to have a solid foundation when it comes to, like, how you learn. When it comes to reading, like, personal development and reading books, 10 pages a day for personal development is, like, a good amount of pages to read. But if you're somebody who struggles with reading, who doesn't, feel really bored when doing so, I suggest you find audios. They have a lot of free audios on YouTube, like on this platform. They have a lot of free audios, and whatever it is that you desire to read, whatever is, desire to listen to it, okay? It's important that you expand your mind in many ways. So, because the way you expand from reading itself, like reading a physical copybook or reading off your Kindle or your phone or your computer, the way the mind works and the way you grow in that aspect is totally different from how you would grow if you were hear it. See, to read it is working in the brain in a different way. That's a total different experience for your mind. But to actually listen, see, you're using another part of your close to your brain. You use another part of your brain. That's another muscle that makes your brain have to work. You have to use your ears, and then what you're hearing, you have to understand what you're hearing. So that's another form of perspective that the brain will have to learn how to digest and take on and understand. Like, your brain has to understand what it's listening to, but you're not like really reading, but you're listening, right? And then, like, if you're like speaking, if you have like a book where you can have an audio and you have like the words and you can read along with it, that is really powerful. To read something and to listen to what you're reading is really powerful, because you're using two different parts. You're using your ears and you're using your brain. But it's all connected to your brain, but you're using your hearing, but you're also using your mouth, and then you're using your mind, the muscle in your mind, to work together. So, and it helps you expand. It helps your vocabulary, and you never know what you may learn. You never know what that does for you as a person, and it helps you grow, and it helps you expand, and you grow from a cocoon, and you grow into a butterfly, and you become a very beautiful person. Reading is very powerful, and it helps us all grow into greater individuals. It's a investment in ourselves, but not only ourselves, our mind, our mental capacity. And being mentally strong is not always a big thing to some people, but it's very important, because you want to have a strong mental capacity. You want to have a strong mental state. So I'm somebody who loves to read. I've been collecting books most of my life. I have tons of books, and I have tons of movies as well. I am a collector of old movies and old books. I used to collect Beanie Babies, but I don't do that anymore. I've done a lot of collecting in my life. I used to be a gamer as well. I am a hobbyist. I do things and grow out of them quickly. After I get tired of them, I expand in a financial scale, and I see the no importance of keeping certain things, and no importance of keep doing certain things, and I eventually grow out of certain things. I learn quickly and learn fast, and I make wiser decisions than average adults. But that doesn't make me perfect. It just makes me more aware and conscious of what I want. But also, I'm aware of the risk of what it's going to take. So it requires a lot of sacrifice. Reading is one of the biggest things that I love. But information is like really important to me. And learning, I'm in love with learning. I love to learn. If I can learn all day and not work, I would definitely do that. Now, how I process information is totally different. And sometimes I can learn from just watching. And sometimes I can learn from just doing. And sometimes I can learn from all. And sometimes I have to physically be there in order to learn something. Like, something has to be taught in person. Some things have to actually be taught to me in person for me to actually know it or learn it. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And that's sometimes how my brain works. Like, the big things aren't really big in my mind, but the small things are huge. And I have a weird brain. So I feel that as a writer, as an artist, as somebody who creates, likes to build, like to do different things with her time, I believe that, the best thing you can do for yourself is find time to read, find time to learn, find time to educate yourself, find time to work this muscle and become fundamentally sound, and become more knowledgeable about things, people, and it's you can never know too much, but you can never know enough to say that you know it all. Okay, that's because there's always room for growth, and then as long as you keep an open mind to learn, you can learn something that you already known, but in a new perspective tomorrow, or like add on some added information to something you already know. Like, information only expands, it doesn't. If you're closed-minded, you can never expand with it. You got to expand with knowledge. You can't let your ignorance or your stupidity hinder you from growth. So, love you guys. Peace, love, and happiness. I hope you guys have a prosperous week. It's Thursday, so it's like halfway over. Just like stay motivated. Find a time to read, listen to audios. If you got something that you can read and listen along to, you're in a powerful position of growth. If you're somebody who doesn't really enjoy reading, read 5 pages a day, or do what works for you. But the expansion of your mind and working that muscle in your brain, your brain. You don't want your brain to become lazy. You want your brain to be always in a position of finding solutions for problems, and always in a predicament of growth. So it's just like, find ways to work your brain. Whether you're doing like outdoors activities, reading, being educated, some way of some sort of studying. Whether you're somebody who or you can study in different ways. You don't necessarily have to read, but I believe reading is very empowering. So, love you guys. Subscribe, like, comment, share. And if you are looking for my podcast, you guys, it's down in the description box below, where you can find my books are down in the description box below. The article about me, and a little background about myself. Anything you need to know about me is going to be in that description box. So, love you guys, and I'm out.